Hello, we're so happy you're here. Welcome to the Deep to Your Core workshop. Today we're going to be talking about our values. This presentation from the Be Engaged workshop series is brought to you by Success Services within the Office of Student Financial Aid. Our workshop series, typically an interactive experience held across campus throughout the year, will now be made available to you through Blackboard Collaborate. We will start today by introducing Student Success Services within the Office of Student Financial Aid. Our Success Services offer a range of resources, including one-on-one success coaching and basic needs support, both of which provide essential support to students. Additionally, we have our workshop series, which includes a diverse set of topics designed to enhance individual success. Finally, we have our mentorship piece, which will launch soon, providing an opportunity for peer-to-peer or peer-to-alumni mentoring. Our space is located in East Campus Mall, but for now, we're available virtually. The basic needs coordinators and success coaches are available to meet with you through video chat or over the phone. Visit our website, look in the bottom left of this screen to meet with us today. Additionally, the Success team is hosting a Microsoft Teams channel available to students to post questions and chat with a Success team member through the platform. Now, to introduce ourselves.
Hi, I'm Jordan Salas, and as a first-year PhD student and success coach, I am available to connect students who are working toward establishing a pathway to success.
And I'm Casey Strahl, our Student Experience Manager. I work to ensure students are able to access the resources and services offered through Student Success Services and provide support to our team.
Okay, back to our workshop. Deep to Your Core allows us to consider what we value most while tasking us with prioritizing each of these values. Our activity is designed to help us understand which of our values influence our choices and actions and which values we prioritize over others. However, it is important to remember that all of our values are important to us, and one value isn't necessarily more important than another. Additionally, it is essential to remember that context influences how we view our values. For example, given our current context and circumstances, our values may have shifted than what they were a month or two ago. Prior to starting our activity, it will be helpful to have some space to write down information and eventually move cards around. You can either download the PDF link to this workshop and cut out the squares, or you can find 30 splits of paper. You could also use index cards or Post-its if you have those available. If you have 5 different colors, that is helpful but not necessary. Feel free to pause this video for a moment if you need to gather those items. Now that you have your 30 slips of paper, or whatever you might be using, we will begin the activity. We will be breaking these 30 cards into 6 categories: family members, non-family members, experiences, places, things, and goals. In our example, purple are family members, green are non-family members, blue are experiences, pink are places, yellow are things, and orange are goals. But please adapt for your setting. We'll ask you to write down one person or thing on each piece of paper that is most important to you, what you value most within each respective category. We will show you a few examples to get you to start you off. Feel free to start writing when you are ready. Here we go.
Starting off, let's consider family members. Which family members immediately come to mind considering your values? One quick note, you can have a family member on multiple boxes or pieces of paper for this category. And if you don't have 5 people in this category, that's also okay. You're not required to complete all the squares for any part of this activity. You can also change your answers at any time.
So for example, here are the family members who are important to me in my life. Remember, you can repeat names if you'd like. The most important piece is making sure each valued family member is present in your table. Now take some time to complete your squares. And remember, playing music may help.
Great job. Now let's move on to the green category, which is non-family members. Take some time to write down the names of non-family members who are most important to you. Remember, you can repeat someone if you like. For example, if your best friend is really important to you, feel free to write their name on 2 or more squares. Also, if you're someone with a larger family, maybe there are many relatives that are important to you and you ran out of space on the family members column, feel free to include them here. Remember, there are no wrong answers in this exercise.
For example, here are the non-family members who are important to me in my life. Remember, you can repeat names if you'd like. Now take some time to complete your squares. Remember, feel free to pause at any time if you need a moment to write down the information.
Moving on to experiences. Consider moments in your life that have had a lasting effect on you and have motivated you in some way. For example, getting admitted to the university of your choice, moving to a new city, or even getting offered your first job may all be experiences that have a lasting impact on you. Take some time and consider what these experiences are for you. Glance around maybe for pictures or reminders of these experiences that have impacted you.
As an example, I've provided experiences that are both memorable and impactful. Specifically, these experiences have in some way impacted my actions and choices at some point in my life. Think about experiences that you've had that have helped to inform one or more areas of your life. Consider how parts of your life changed after these experiences.
Consider what places, things, and goals have impacted your life. Specifically, what places have you been to that have impacted you, or places you've spent a lot of time? How have things you have impacted your outlook? What things are incredibly important to you? Finally, how have your goals impacted your actions? Are there goals you have achieved or not achieved that have impacted you? We'll show you some examples of places, things, and goals to get you thinking. Repeat the same steps as before. Please know that it may be helpful to pause the presentation and complete the subsequent portions on your own before continuing the video. Also, as we mentioned earlier, listening to music, looking through photos may be helpful through this exercise.
Okay, at this point, you should have 30 different squares with 30 different things, people, and other values that are important to you. Take a moment to look at these. With all 30 values in front of you, look at them. Again, take a moment to evaluate them and what they mean to you. I'm going to ask you to remove 6 squares. Create a pile for the squares that you remove and place them aside. Remember, it is not that these 6 squares aren't important to you, but as we prioritize the 30 items, they may not be the most important to you. Take a moment to reflect on how that felt. Feel free to pause the presentation before going to the next slide if you need time to decide which 6 to remove.
Next, take a moment to evaluate the 24 remaining and what they mean to you. I'm going to ask you to again remove 6. Again, it is not that these 6 are not important to you. Move those 6 into the pile you've created. Take a moment to reflect on how that felt. Was it easier or harder than the last 6? Feel free to pause the presentation before going to the next slide if you need time to decide what 6 to remove. Okay, next up. Take a moment to evaluate the 18 remaining squares and what they mean to you. I'm going to ask you to remove 6 more into the pile that you've created. Take a moment to reflect on how that felt. Was it easier or harder than the last 12? Feel free to pause the presentation again if you need time to decide which 6 to remove.
Okay, you probably know what's coming by now. Take a moment to evaluate the 12 remaining squares and what they mean to you. I'm going to ask that you remove 6 more. Yep, 6 more so that you're left with only 6 squares. Move the other 6 to the side. Take a moment to reflect on how that felt. Is it getting easier or harder? What makes it harder for you? Feel free to pause the presentation before going to the next slide if you need more time to decide which 6 to remove. Okay, just one more time. Evaluate the 6 remaining squares and what they mean to you. I'm going to ask that you remove 3 squares so that you're only left with 3. Move those 3 squares to the side and take a moment to reflect on how that felt. Feel free to pause the presentation before going to the next slide if you need time to decide which 3 to remove.
If you really want to challenge yourself, try and remove 2 more and only be left with 1. Otherwise, we challenge you to prioritize these top 3. How does it feel? Does it feel different to prioritize your squares compared to removing them? If yes, why do you think that is?
On the document, select squares and move them around. In my example, I move the items most important to me in each category to the top of the column. Now that you've completed the exercise, consider how you feel now that you're down to 1 to 3 squares. What surprised you about your findings? Looking at the top values, how do you see them influencing and motivating your actions and choices? How did your categories play out in this process? Was there one category that was eliminated first or not at all? What does that mean to you?
Additionally, take some time to reflect on how the recent shelter in place has impacted your values. How has the shelter in place impacted what or who you value? How have your values shifted? Has one value for one square or another increased or decreased? For further consideration, think about what these values say about you. Also, think about how your actions and choices respond to these values. Are your values aligned with your actions and choices? If they are, do you recognize how they are connected? If not, do you see ways that they could be more aligned?
Lastly, think about the choices you've made up until now and consider what your choices and actions may look like in the years to come. How can you apply these choices you made today to choices you may make in the future? What do you think your values will look like in the future? What impact can knowing our values have on the choices we make for our lives and careers in the future?
Thank you for completing this workshop with us today. We hope that you've taken some time to reflect on your values. Success Services will continue providing content that works to optimize existing skill sets and personal resources that you already have that will help you develop and sustain a pathway to success. Please feel free to reach out to us. You can connect with us virtually on our Microsoft Teams page or email us to set up a one-on-one meeting. Stay tuned for more content, and until next time, stay safe and continue your hard work.